To say that 2020 was a challenging year for the comics industry would be putting things lightly. The ongoing pandemic resulted in delays, cancellations, and even in DC switching from Diamond, up until this year the main comics distributor in North America, to their own distribution model. But for all that it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, neither has it been all doom and gloom either. 2020 saw the release of dozens of new series, but also those comics that have proven to be consistently brilliant since their debut a few years ago. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are the 10 best comic books of 2020. Number 10. Marvel's X-Books. Is this cheating? Absolutely. Am I fine with it? Yes. Yes, I am. The X-Men made an incredible return in 2019, with their reintroduction being marshaled by Avengers writer Jonathan Hickman in House of X and Powers of 10. Other writers and artists joined Hickman in the X-Books' new status quo in the winter, helping to make Dawn of X one of the most successful relaunches in recent memory, with titles like New Mutants, Marauders, and Excalibur in particular earning major plaudits, and for good reason. Marvel's X-Men team kept Dawn of X's momentum going into 2020, eventually introducing the diabolically brilliant Ten of Swords in the summer, involving Marvel's mutants all wielding swords. It's sort of self-explanatory when you think about it. Spinning out of summer's event, we now also have Sword, which brings Al Ewing to the X mythos for the very first time. Its debut issue was pretty stellar, and with all the other X books being so consistently brilliant too, the only issue readers may currently find is that there really can be too much of a good thing. Number 9. Teen Titans Beast Boy. Gabriel Piccolo's rise to comic stardom has been brilliant to see unfold over the last couple of years. A fan artist who's now mixing it in the big leagues with all the other big artists of Marvel and DC, Piccolo developed a huge following primarily from drawing characters from Teen Titans, a property that has a huge cult following thanks in part to the cartoon of the same name that aired on Cartoon Network in the early 2000s. Piccolo's drawings, which capture the Titans in casual settings in their downtime as opposed to big confrontations with supervillains, drew widespread attention and eventually led to him collaborating with Cami Garcia in Teen Titans Raven, a book published as a part of DC's Ink imprint in 2019. The duo returned with another Titans book in 2020, this time focusing on Beast Boy. Garcia and Piccolo's approach to Raven proved to be a real winner the previous year, and the pair have worked their magic yet again with Beast Boy. Garcia captures Garfield Logan's voice perfectly, while Piccolo's art is as tremendous as ever. It's a wonderful series, and one Teen Titans fans really shouldn't ignore. The next entry in the series, Beast Boy Loves Raven, releases in 2021. Number 8. USAGI YOJIMBO. USAGI YOJIMBO is the legendary creation of the equally legendary Stan Sakai, and while the character arguably experienced their best years in the 80s and 90s, that's no reason to sleep on Sakai's newest material, which has found a home at IDW over the last couple of years. The first 7 issues, collected in the Bunraku and Other Stories trade released earlier in 2020, was a treat to read in 2019, with Sakai's pencils as vibrant as ever thanks to the addition of Tom Luth as the series colorist. Usagi's new adventures have only continued to be excellent in 2020, with Sakai's amazing anthropomorphic Ronin encountering threats both otherworldly and not. The series serves as a great jumping on point for those not familiar with Sakai's earlier works, and should definitely not be slept on by older fans either. Number 7. The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage. 2020 saw the deaths of many a beloved figure in the comics industry, among them the legendary Dennis O'Neil. O'Neil revolutionized DC Comics in the late 60s and early 70s as a creator who helped usher in the Bronze Age of comics. Along with artist Neil Adams, he returned Batman to his darker roots, and in the process created what many would consider to be the definitive version of The Dark Knight. O'Neil and Adams would also later collaborate on Green Lantern Green Arrow, a series that redefined the two characters within the context of the long 1960s. Among O'Neil's greatest achievements, though, was a run on former Charlton Comics character The Question, which he co-authored alongside Dennis Cohen and Rick Magyar. Cohen returned to the character in 2019 alongside writer Jeff Lemire and artist Bill Sienkiewicz, with a Black Label series that explored the Vigilante's literary history, from Steve Ditko's angry, ranting objectivist to O'Neil's O'Neill's more thoughtful, philosophical reimagining through the lens of a psychedelic journey through time. The Many Deaths of Vic Sage concluded in 2020 and did so with a massive bang. The series tackled many genres, but its fourth issue ends on a really salient note, and one that more than lives up to the spirit of O'Neill's lauded run on the character. Number 6. The Immortal Hulk. The Immortal Hulk is a treasure and has been for the last 3 years since it started printing. Al Ewing and Joe Bennett's bold, horror-laden approach to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Jade Giant proved to be a major success and has continued to wow readers in pretty much every issue since. Ewing and Bennett's series has returned the Hulk to his Jekyll and Hyde roots, delving into the body horror aspects of the character, but also the psychological terrors that lay underneath. 2020 has also seen the book pivot into different areas. While at first the series dealt with creepy creatures from our own plane, this new Hulk has taken on giant kaiju-esque terrors and even delved into the cosmic side of things, and it is phenomenal. The Immortal Hulk is sadly set to end with its 50th issue in 2021, but rest assured that Ewing and Bennett will have planned one heck of a concluding arc. Number 5. Far Sector. DC's Young Animal imprint may not have the same kind of momentum it had when it first launched, but it has produced some genuinely brilliant comics, and Far Sector is no exception. Written by N.K. Jemisin with art from Naomi's Jamal Campbell, Far Sector has proven to be the breath of fresh air that DC's Green Lantern books have so desperately been craving for years. Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp's The Green Lantern has also been fantastic, but whereas that series takes a shining light to one of DC's Silver Age staples, Far Sector goes somewhere altogether more different. Situated on a place called the City Enduring in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the comic revolves around Green Lantern Jo Mullein as she works to maintain peace in the sector. It should be an easy job given the system's spotless record, but the longer Mullein spends there, the more she realizes something is very much not right. Either way, Jemisin has made a seamless jump from novels to comics, and Jamal Campbell continues to be one of DC's brightest assets. If you've ever struggled to get into Green Lantern, this series cannot come more highly recommended. Number 4. John Constantine, Hellblazer. In an ideal world, we would be gearing up for yet another arc of Cy Spurrier, Aaron Campbell, and Matthias Bergara's Hellblazer run. Sadly, and bizarrely, this series was cancelled earlier this year, meaning we only have 12 issues of what is frankly the best Hellblazer comic we've seen in years. Spurrier gets a real handle on John Constantine and positions the character in his best setting, away from the rest of the DC universe. Constantine has never really been a superhero, and while yes, he has featured in some great stories in the mainstream DC universe, Spurrier is given the necessary freedom here to take the occult Scouser back into familiar territory, this time London, with a few added wrinkles that ensure the comic remains as biting and as compelling as ever. John Constantine Hellblazer marked a strong return to form for one of Vertigo's most beloved characters. It's just a massive shame it's going to end way before its time. Number 3. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. In a year as rotten as 2020, comics like Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen are super important. Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber's hilarious deep dive into the Big Blue Boy Scouts' old friend was what Culture Comics' #1 series of 2019, and while the comic suffered delays at the start of 2020 due to the ongoing situation, it was more than worth the wait to see how it all ended. Put simply, Jimmy Olsen provides an angle of the DC universe we don't see nearly enough of. Through Jimmy's eyes, Fraction and Lieber takes the reader on an amazing journey with a sinister conspiracy right at the center. There's a wonderful detour to Gotham City, a fun exploration of the feud between the Olsen and Luthor families dating back to Metropolis's founding, and some great commentary on contemporary content creation and the decline of old media in the age of clickbait and controversy. Fraction is as tremendous as ever, but Lieber must be singled out for particular praise. He captures DC's world in a way that's charming, warming, and emotive, and that final panel, with Soups and his old pal sat atop the Daily Planet, it just might be the best of all. Number 2. Daredevil. Chip Zdarsky is one of the greatest comics creators currently working in the industry, and his run on Daredevil is a testament to that. Zdarsky kicked off his run on The Man Without Fear in 2019 and has gone on to provide one of the more thought-provoking takes we've ever seen on the character, and that's saying something, given Matt Murdock has found himself the subject of more critically lauded runs than any other superhero. I mean, you had the Frank Miller series in the 1980s, the Ann Nocenti run that followed, the Brian Bendis and Alex Maleev run that came in the early 2000s, the Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark run too, the Mark Waid and Chris Samnee series, and then also the Charles Soule run. Jesus, Daredevil has so many great comics. But I'm getting carried away. Zdarsky, who has been joined on Daredevil by top artists Marco Cicchetto and George Fawns, among others, has continued to craft what will likely go down as one of the character's finest ever arcs. Deftly handling and redefining Matt Murdock's history, Mike Murdock is actually a thing now, whilst exploring the fallout of what happens when a superhero messes up big time. It's been a joy to read the last couple of years, and with a new figure having now adopted the Daredevil mantle, with the Man Without Fear now behind bars, it's showing no signs of slowing down. And number 1, Pulp. Hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips are really good at comics. The two have formed a formidable partnership over at Image Comics over the last 10 years, with Fatale, a film noir supernatural hybrid, and The Fade Out, just plain old film noir, both notable highlights. Brubaker and Phillips also had a big year in 2020, with Cruel Summer and Reckless releasing in August and December respectively to rave reviews. Their best work, however, for me personally, has to be Pulp, a magnificent Depression-era story that's simply too good to spoil. Pulp centers around an old man called Max Winters. He writes pulp novels for a publication all about the legendary gunman of the Old West. Only Max himself has a secret, and it isn't long before he finds himself reckoning not only with his own past, but the arrival of a new evil right on his doorstep. Brubaker and Phillips are one of the most revered creative teams, and Pulp demonstrates why perfectly. It is a stunning work, a bridge between two eras, and frankly unmissable, a true tour de force of comic storytelling. And those were the 10 best comics of 2020. Which series did you enjoy the most this year? Let me know in the comments below, and hey, while you're down there, it would be awesome if you could drop us a like and subscribe to What Culture Comics so you don't miss another upload going forward. That's all for now though, take care, and I will see you soon.